It's time for Life Engineering, processes that combine science, wisdom, and spirituality to build a life of alignment. Joining Dr. Pat is your host, Gabriela Embon, bringing you bi-weekly wisdom nuggets, your step-by-step guidance to build a life of no regrets. Stay tuned as they uncover powerful processes for you to realize your true potential. Are you ready for some magic wisdom? Life Engineering starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to share the stage with the most incredible Gabriela Embon. Today in Life Engineering, today in the show, you're going to want to listen to this. The one essential component for legendary relationships. Not mediocre, not maybe, not half-time, not once in a while, but legendary relationships. Gabriela, I'm so excited about this. Who doesn't want that, right?
And you know what? We're going to be talking about relationships, but the principle and the component is not just for relationship. It's for a legendary life, a life of no regrets. So, yeah.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about some of the qualities. And, here's what's interesting about what you're about to say. Once upon a time when I started my research, really relationship between two people and their agreements, my committee kind of chuckled at me when I wanted to measure some of the things you're talking about today. And then they saw the results. So let's get into it. Who's laughing now?
But you see, when we think about relationships, we, for the most, think about what are the components needed. We think about loyalty, empathy, respect, kindness, which are all very important ingredients, don't get me wrong. But without one critical component, nothing can actually be enough. And that component is commitment, right? It is that key ingredient, or not even an ingredient, an agreement, as you use the word agreement, right? That underpins them all the rest. When we practice commitment, we can transform any interaction and strengthen any bond. And it's truly what allows a relationship to move from just surviving to thriving. It is that commitment. And to be honest, one of the reasons that marriages fail is that we get addicted to the spikes of dopamine that we feel in the beginning of the relationship when we are in that honeymoon phase. And then when that dopamine obviously resides, we go, what do I do now? How do I bring it back? Yeah. And that's why commitment is so important, because it's not just about the beginning, which is great, or then when we attain results. It's about the journey. We want to have that constant flow of dopamine throughout the journey. And it is through reframing the journey through commitment that we can actually create that dopamine again and again, have that in a really nice, steady, and healthy dose in our brain. Because in the beginning, it's not a steady, it's a spike of dopamine. But what do you do when that spike, right? When that spike resides. So what do you do then? And it is that commitment. Yeah. So relationship fails because we expect that spike. We expect love to sustain itself.
Yeah. Man, I love this topic. I love this. Let's explain for if we could real quick what we're talking about. I don't care what movie you watch. I don't care whether you're plugged in or you're not plugged into the world. Every kind of deal, right, has a phrase. And that phrase could either represent the spike in the dopamine, like, you complete me. What the heck? Like, for how long did that last? But that's not enough. See, I want to just reference this. First of all, let's mention that you're coming to the forefront here as the author of an incredible book.
That's right.
So this is something that you've committed to research for it. But I want to ask you this question. Is is commitment, or how is commitment the key to building the bridge between the dopamine hit and legendary relationships?
Well, you see, it is that commitment that allows us to navigate the middle stage of the relationship, the power struggle, and actually keep going until we move from the power struggle to the power couple. So, and not only it's the commitment that allows us to do that and allows the love to rekindle, is the commitment allows us to, if we fall in love with it, if we fall in love with the commitment as saying, this is not it's not hard work. It's me investing and being committed in this relationship. So I can make a legendary relationship out of this, and I can enjoy from that power couple phase. I can arrive to that power couple phase. But if you actually enjoy the journey, the middle stage, because you view the commitment as a privilege, as an opportunity, rather than, a curse.
Yeah.
Right? Then you actually, if you reframe that this is a great opportunity for me to grow. This is where we're going to grow together, and we're going to catapult as a couple. Then love gets rekindled. But often commitment gets a bad reputation, right? We celebrate spontaneity and freedom, but true commitment is far from being a limitation. It's a huge opportunity, and it's the foundation to create anything, not just relationships, anything extraordinary. And somehow today we're shying away from commitment. So we want to really understand what it means to be committed, and what it means in our brain to have that constant dose of healthy dopamine and not being addicted to the ups and the downs, and how it can shape our relationships. Because rather than people say, well, I'll commit when I feel the love. No, it's actually the other way around. It's not love that will lead to commitment. In the beginning, it is, of course, in the honeymoon phase, it is. But eventually, you will have to reverse that. It is the commitment that will rekindle the love. And if you keep the other way around, it's not going to work. And then you'll never get past that power struggle into the power couple. But that's not just in relationships. I think we have a crisis of commitment in different aspects of our lives.
No
where
question.
We expect immediate results. We are so addicted to those spikes of dopamine, whether it's because we get them from social media or from playing video games or any other thing. We are so addicted to that we have forgotten the virtue of commitment. Does it make sense?
It not only makes sense, it's very practical. I'm going to hit you up with a couple of really quick practical ideas, and I want you to really walk us through how do we practice this. I don't think there is a movie that does what you just said better than Pretty Woman with Richard Gere. Okay, why am I saying that? Because the whole first part of the movie is the dopamine. It's all the dopamine, right? Let's just say it, right? That's what it is. But then something happens in their little relationship, right? Something happens. They go from that. Okay, but what happens at the end? She says, you know what, dude? No, that is not going to work for me. You're not going to buy me. You're not going to put me up. So he is at a tipping point. He could either get on the plane and go back to New York, but he doesn't do that. He commits to going to the next level of whatever it is. That's a movie, and that's Hollywood. That's one thing. And I want you to walk me through it. But I want to give you my own personal experience. I am sitting here today in my life in a relationship again with my first and only love from 1972. And that is a very long story, because if you said the word commitment to me anywhere in my 20s and 30s, I would have not just left the room, but like I did, I would move across the country. But what you're about to talk about here demonstrates that anyone can use what you're sharing to make a decision about what they want in relationships. So let's walk through this. You call it the art of practicing commitment in relationships. Can I just be clear? Not just personal. How about your work? How about your parents? How about the holidays? Can you walk us through what you found?
You said work. I will deviate a little bit. I just listened to a wonderful TED Talk by Martin L'Esperance, and he talks about Everybody says you need to find your why, start with your why, you need to find your purpose. This is what happens when you don't have it. So then people don't fall in love with their job. But what if you actually fall in love with your job as it is? If you commit to find the beautiful things in your job and to do the little things that you love to do, then if you commit to that, you're going to rekindle that love. So I recommend his TED Talk, Martin L'Esperance. It talks exactly about, wait, let's stop romanticizing for a moment about finding my purpose, my why. Let's just, wherever I am, do the best that I can and commit to enjoy it and find those, commit to enjoy it and make it better every day. And then we will all love our jobs. Yeah. So this is the same. He's just talking about work. I'm talking here about relationship, but it's the same principle. How commitment, it's not actually an obligation for us. It's an opportunity for us to have more joy in whatever it is we do. Because when we commit to something, we are investing in that, right? It's a form of investment, then we actually enjoy it. Because what does it mean you enjoy it? You get to know it more. You get to learn it deeper. And the more you know something, the more you love what you are learning, what you find. It's all about going into the depths. So if I'm committed to my partner, it means I won't just communicate on the surface level. I'll go deeper in my communication. And then the deeper I go, the more I love you, because the more I discover about you. So let's talk about the art of practicing commitment in relationships. But again, this can be applied to any aspect of your life. So first of all, commitment in a relationship, it's not a one-time decision, right? It's a daily practice. And that's important to understand, that we want to stop treating marriage as a status or something we achieve on our wedding day and start doing marriage by actively developing over time through commitment, right? So in the book, we talk about the 4 pillars. Becoming a power couple, 4 pillars to engineering legendary marriages. So the first pillar is the me. So how does commitment look like from the me pillar perspective? The me pillar perspective says, I'm committed to better myself and to work on my own baggage, right? It's the commitment to do your work so you can be a better partner, to seek self-connection first and foremost. If you're disconnected from yourself, if you're leading an unauthentic life, if you are misaligned, then it's going to be very difficult to connect to someone else, obviously.
Yeah, well, you can't do it. So let me just stay with that for a minute, if you don't mind. How many times have we heard this? When you get on an airplane, they say to you very quickly, it doesn't matter who you got sitting next to you. The first thing you got to do is put that mask, that oxygen mask on yourself. And why is that? Because without that oxygen, without you being able and have the capacity to act, in that case, in an emergency, you are not going to be able to do it if you're not taking care of yourself. And what you just mentioned, even though we're going to move quickly today, right there, that thing right there, I don't know how you move forward if you're not at least willing to commit to yourself. You don't have to be like everything, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
That's right. And that's why it's the first pillar, because if we don't have that one, it's very difficult to then build with someone else. The second pillar is the you. And the commitment in the you pillar means that you are committed to learn how to better love your partner, how to better be their friend and respect them. And that means you're committed to learn them and never assume that you know what they need, but you're committed to asking the questions, the deeper questions, and discover what they need. When I'm having a conversation with my husband, if I come to him to talk about something, he says, wait a second, what kind of conversation are we having? Do you want me to listen to you? Do you want me to help you resolve a problem? Or you just need to, you need a hug? What kind of conversation are we having? So he has become really good at asking me this in advance, because otherwise I would come with the idea, I just want you to listen to me and hug me. He will go into, let me help you find a solution for this. And then I'll be frustrated and he'll be frustrated. We're both coming with the best intentions, but we're not speaking the same conversation. So you means that I'm committed to not assume, ask the deeper questions so I can better understand you, be your friend, and love you.
This happened to me this morning. I got in really early, had back-to-back meetings, and I got a call. And the call started out, when are you going to get to the office? Okay, so it started out like that in a frenzy. And I didn't even know what it was. And you know what I did? See, I always look at the show that I'm doing. So I looked at this, they said, can you tell me what is the context of what you want me to do? Do we have a crisis on a scale of 1 to 10? And when you hear about it, it's a situation that is easily resolved, right? But if I didn't stop to do that and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, should I turn around and go home? Or do you just want to explain a situation to me that I can handle in the office? You see, if I didn't do that, that could have escalated into a crash of what you call it, dopamine.
But let me tell you something.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me ask you something about that.
Please.
What gave you the most amount of satisfaction? Or what would have given you the most amount of satisfaction? If the conversation went easily from the beginning?
Exactly.
Or the fact that you were able to ask those deeper questions and go deeper to
That.
effort. Let's put the word effort is so attached to commitment. You put effort in making this conversation great.
Exactly.
What gave you the most amount of satisfaction?
That right there, because you see, if you do anything else, you're going to make the other person wrong.
So
right?
you see, there's so much satisfaction in the effort that is applied when we are committed. In fact, we release a beautiful dose of dopamine when we create something that we put effort and commitment in creating it, that rather than it was just easy. I'm not saying we have to struggle,
No.
but when we apply creativity, effort not in the struggle, effort in how can I make this better, creativity, that shows commitment. And that's the kind of dopamine that won't spike up and down easily.
Yeah. But boy, just asking, and just like you did with, just like your husband did, right? Just clarifying, is this something that I should go from 0 to 120 ballistic about? Or can we just talk about it? What's the situation, right? What could we do? That quick little thing I got to tell you, I can't even explain to you the difference, because we are in a live production environment here. And let's say this were to crash right now, right? There are a lot of people that would not be crazy about it, but would try to figure it out. But so often in relationships, if we don't hit a pause button of sorts, and I'd like you to walk us through this, because the satisfaction with me is I could have very easily matched that thing. That wouldn't have helped. And isn't that what happens in relationship when we both, decide, what's the right word? When we're not committed, right, to a different way of being, then the old way of being takes us to a place of not being committed.
That's right. And then, of course, we hurt ourselves, we hurt others, and we don't grow, right? That's stagnation over right there.
Yeah.
That's why I say that commitment is an opportunity. Yeah. It's an opportunity to grow and make things better. It's an opportunity to get out of our comfort zone. It's an opportunity for creativity, in other words, to do things differently.
Yeah. I love this, because this applies across the board. I want to just make sure people understand we're talking about this. But, when you talked about is the me, you talked about looking at my own baggage, looking at my own stuff, right? And if we could learn a few things of what you're sharing today, especially what kind of conversation are we going to have right now? right? Are you going to rant and rave? Because I have my best friend and we do R&R and we say, okay, this is an R&R session. I don't need you to fix it. Just let me R&R. That's ranting and raving. And it's not very long. But you see, we don't take the time to do that, right? And I did it this morning with Moxie and Nat, our new producer. And I did it this morning, and I'm going to end up apologizing to both of them because I realized what I did, because I didn't spend enough time in the situation with them, right? I didn't spend enough time.
Sometimes we don't have the time.
That's
and it's okay. But that's why you said that sometimes, okay, I can apologize or say, I don't have the time right now. Let's reschedule this. Let's find a better time.
Yep.
So that's when we say, is this a good time for us to talk?
Yeah.
So the third pillar is the hour, and the commitment through the third pillar looks, how do we build a world together? And how do we manage what's our, to the best of our abilities, through communication, coordination, and collaboration? And committing to build a world together, it's hard. Building a world for your own, it's not easy. Imagine committing with someone else to build a world together with somebody that might be actually very different than you, or create differently, have a different creative process, and now you're committing with that person to build a world together, right? Yeah. That's not easy. It's much, what we see in couples is that each one of them is leading a separate life and building their own world, but there's no togetherness, and that creates obviously a loneliness. That's not a power couple. So it's not easy, but if I'm committed to it, then I will work with communication. I will make the effort to communicate, coordinate, and collaborate, even though sometimes might be much easier to do things on my own, much quicker, because we are committed to creating together.
Yeah.
And that's how commitment looks like on the third pillar, the hour pillar. And then, of course, we have the last pillar, the us, which is being committed to our intimacy, our bond, to nurturing our intimate bond in every sense. And that means dedicating time. That means dedicating energy. And that means creating a safety space for us to want to be intimate, right? And understanding what each one of us need to be intimate. So if my spouse needs the dishes to be clean, to be able to be present, then I'm committed to making that happen, because I'm committed to creating space for our intimacy. And that's really how we apply commitment through the four pillars. And then when we do that, the most beautiful result happens. And again, this is a very dynamic, it's not a one-time thing. It doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes we're better than other days. But when we are committed, and that's again coming back to commitment, some days it's easier than others. Some days it works beautifully, and other days it blows on your face and you go, this was a disaster. But if I'm committed, right, I'll study what didn't go well and I'll do it better next time. I won't quit because I'm committed. It means I'll do whatever it takes to make this work. Commitment comes with course correction all the time.
I was going to ask you this, because part of this is the development of the art of trust. It's an integral part of what we're talking about. And that's this right. You can apply across the board. Of course, yes, relationships, especially if you're living with that person 24/7, that is a dynamic in itself, but it doesn't have to be just that. It's that level or degree by which, let's say you're a manager and you have a staff member, or let's say a family, you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and you're going to the Thanksgiving dinner, right? There's just so many things that are applicable to this, but it starts out with me. It really does.
And with a choice. You said with me, my choice to not quit, even if I don't see immediate results, with my choice to fall in love with the journey, to see the opportunity, to fall in love with the journey, I have to be able to see the opportunity here for me and for our relationship. And to be okay to do things even if you don't feel like it. Do I always feel like doing everything we do? No. Do I feel like having this difficult conversation? No, but I'm committed to this relationship, so I will. And that's really at the core is I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen, even when I don't feel like it. That's how commitment shows in a relationship.
It's so important. Yeah. I mean, there's part of this that I hope we do talk about, and it's the unspoken agreements we make. Like if you know, and you know, you're living with somebody, you know, dishes in the sink is not a good thing. I mean, you know it by now, right? Somebody doesn't have to tell you, honey, do the dishes. You already know. It's like part of that, but you don't do the dishes. And it's those silent things that come up with resentment and regret. I mean, this is what we're talking about. If we follow these 4 pillars, the goal here is to set up a relationship with no regrets and no resentments.
That's right, because those will erode the bond of trust that we build. So we definitely want to do that. And when I do feel resentment or regret, to talk about it, to address it. That's the me pillar, going back. So we see that they're not linear. It's not that first I do the me, then the you, then the our, then the us. We are always working with these pillars. Sometimes, okay, I need to, now it's the me. It's I have to resolve this. And to also be committed to show up for our partner even when we're angry at them, right? That's extremely important. Well, I don't need to
super important.
Yeah. To see our partner, to be committed to, you are a part of me. If you hurt, I hurt. We are in this together, even when I'm angry at you. Even when today I don't feel the love for you, I'll still practice commitment, investment, because this is what gets the love rekindled.
I want to just emphasize to people that what we're talking about, the 4 pillars, me, you, our, us, what we're talking about is applicable across the board. I prepare for these shows in advance the night before. Last night is my table tennis night, and I go play with a different group of people, very competitive people. And I showed up, and when you show up, Gabriela, when you're playing people, their expectation is you're going to show up and play your best. That's just it for this group. This is not a fun play thing. And I showed up and I was asked to play a very good player, and I played, and it was really clear to me I wasn't really into it, right? And I got a couple of people watching me, and I caught myself and I said, Pat, you need to get committed because it shows respect. You need to get committed. You need to show up here. Whatever the baggage is you brought here, you got to leave it at the door. You're in a situation. What am I here to learn? I'm here to learn that if I did commit to this game and I played, I can actually win. And you go through the 4 pillars, and what happens at the end? You're losing 2 games to 0. It's best, right? It's the best 3. And you have this awakening because I could see these pillars in my mind as I'm playing. And I come back and I win. But that's a lot. That's a heavy toll on me. So I got 3 guys watching me. And and I beat somebody that plays really well. And they walked up to me and they said, oh, you know, you have to play me. You have to play me. But I couldn't commit to that. My ego would have said, great. But I couldn't do it because, first of all, I didn't feel physically ready to do it. And secondly, I didn't really want to play them. And so I walked away, and I don't know that if I hadn't prepared for the show, I don't know that I would have walked away because my ego would have said, stay there and play. But you see, this happens at work with your boss. This happens in relationship. You could wake up one morning and your spouse is sitting there and you're carrying over your garbage from, I don't know, watching some movie or something. And you look at your partner, and the next thing out of your mouth is, why do you have to snore so much? But you see, what you're talking about is applicable across the board. I want to ask you your closing message because, yes, you wrote a fabulous book. And yes, it's about power couples. And yes, it's important. But the roadmap that you laid out is simple to follow, but not easy.
You know what? One of the things, a quick, you asked me for final words, a quick tip that can help us act from a place of commitment is to think about what would my higher self do, what would my future self do, wiser self do, or how will I feel tomorrow morning if I do this? And that right away will give you the answer of what you need to do. If you find yourself being sucked into the drama, into the ego side, before you react, for a moment, just think, what would the wiser self do, or the higher self, or the future you do? And then act from that place. For me, it was always, how would I feel tomorrow morning if I say those words now? And that's what self-regulation is. Self-regulation is such an important quality which allows us to practice commitment, right? And when we do that, when we apply self-regulation and commitment, we are actually building that trust that you were talking about. And when we build that bond of trust with that special person that we're building a world together, then you become that powerful synergy, that power couple that has a huge ripple effect all around you, not just your family, your children, your extended family, because then your spouse says, let's help your parents, right?
Yeah.
So
this is so important. I hope we can do another show really expanding this out to how we can use this, because let me just tell you, thank you for this, because we know what happened to me. I thought about, if I stay here and I played the 2 or 3 guys that were lining up to play me right there, I wouldn't get out of there till 10 o'clock. I had a 4 o'clock morning. I had 2 very important calls this morning, one at 7, one at 8. And I had that moment where I said, if I stay here, I will not show up for my team tomorrow. Thank you for this. And I hope people take away that they have the ability to create amazing relationships. You're awesome, Gabriela. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
What's your website? How do we get your book?
Gabriela at Gabriela Embon, EMBON.com. My book can be found on Amazon, Becoming a Power Couple, 4 Pillars to Engineering Legendary Marriages, or if you just Google my name, Gabriela Embon, on Amazon, you'll see the book.
Thank you. Thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. We'll see you next time.
You have been listening to Life Engineering, processes that combine science, wisdom, and spirituality to create a life of alignment on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Join host Gabriela Embon and Dr. Pat every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific for bi-weekly wisdom nuggets on how to create your perfect synergy between your mind, body, and spirit in order to realize your true potential. For more information, visit Gabriela at coachingacademy.net.